I never told my son I make $40,000 a month. For almost 20 years, I've been the regional director of operations for one of the biggest multinational corporations on the planet. I sign contracts worth hundreds of millions. I oversee 5 countries. I make decisions that change the lives of 10,000 employees. But to my only child, Marcus, I was just mom. The woman who left early, came home exhausted, cooked with whatever was in the fridge, and lived in the same tiny 2-bedroom apartment for the last 23 years. I wanted it that way. I grew up believing dignity is worn on the inside, not flashed on the wrist. So I kept my truth hidden. I wore discount clothes. I carried the same cracked leather handbag until the strap broke. I saved everything. I invested everything. And I became wealthy in complete silence. Because real power doesn't announce itself. Real power watches. That all changed the Tuesday Marcus called me, voice shaking. Mom, Simone's parents are flying in from Europe. First time meeting you. Dinner Saturday at Leroux, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Please come. I heard the panic underneath his words. Not excitement, fear. Fear that I would embarrass him. I asked quietly, "What exactly did you tell them about me?" Long pause. That you work in an office, live alone, keep things simple. Simple. That single word cut deeper than any insult. I took a deep breath and made a decision. If my own son saw me as simple, if his in-laws were coming ready to judge, then I would give them exactly what they expected. A poor, clueless, struggling mother. I wanted it that way. I wanted to feel with my own skin how they treat someone who has nothing. Saturday night, I put on the ugliest outfit I owned, a shapeless gray dress I'd bought 15 years ago at a thrift store, wrinkled on purpose, scuffed flat shoes, no jewelry, not even a watch, hair of a messy ponytail, old faded canvas tote. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I looked broken. Perfect. The taxi pulled up to Leroux, crystal chandeliers, doormen in white gloves, cars that cost more than houses. I stepped out, heart pounding, not from fear, but from anticipation. I crossed the threshold, and everything changed. Marcus spotted me first. His face fell. Simone's eyes widened in horror. Her parents, Veronica and Franklin, sat like king and queen at the head of the table. Emerald sequin dress, diamonds dripping from every finger, Rolex the size of a hockey puck. Veronica looked me up and down, and the judgment was instant. Cold handshake, fake smile. They placed me at the very end of the table, like an afterthought. The menus arrived, written entirely in French, no prices anywhere. I opened mine and pretended to be lost. Veronica sighed dramatically. "Let me order something simple for you, dear. We don't want to overdo it tonight." Simple. There was that word again. The entire dinner was a masterclass in humiliation. They bragged about their 3-country property portfolio, their $1,200 a night suite, their private vineyard tours. Veronica swirled a $250 glass of wine and said loudly, "Not everyone has a trained palate, of course. That comes with travel, education, money." Then she looked straight at me and asked, "And you, Alara, what do you do?" "I work in an office," whispered. Eyes down. "Paperwork. Filing." Simple things. They exchanged glances that needed no words. Franklin leaned in with fake concern. It must be hard at your age, living alone on a small salary. Does it even cover rent? Veronica jumped in, voice dripping with pity. We truly admire women who struggle alone. So brave, so resilient. But now that Marcus is married, we don't want him carrying any unnecessary burdens. Burdens. She called me a burden to my own son. Marcus's fists were white under the table. Simone stared at her plate like she wanted the floor to swallow her. And me, I stayed quiet. I let the silence stretch until it was unbearable. Then I spoke. My voice was no longer small. It was calm. It was steel. $700 a month to vanish from my own son's life? That's very generous, Veronica. I leaned forward slightly. Tell me, how much was the down payment you gifted them for their house? 40,000? The honeymoon in Europe for 3 weeks? 15,000? I smiled. So $55,000 bought you the right to treat me like garbage all night. The air left the room. I kept going, calm, cold, unstoppable. 40 years ago, I was 23 years old, pregnant, abandoned by the father, disowned by my family. I worked until the day I gave birth, went back to work 2 weeks later. Marcus slept in a laundry basket beside my desk, while a neighbor watched him for $5 a day. I studied at night, public library, fluorescent lights, books I couldn't afford to buy. English, accounting, finance, management, secretary, assistant, coordinator, manager, senior manager, director, executive director of operations for the entire Latin American and Caribbean division. 20 years of climbing while raising a child completely alone. Today, I earn $40,000 a month. I manage budgets larger than your entire existence. I came here tonight dressed like this on purpose. I wanted to see who you really are when you think someone has nothing. And you showed me. You showed me beautifully. Marcus dropped his fork. It clanged like a gunshot. Simone gasped so loudly nearby tables turned. Veronica turned the color of ash. Franklin's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. I reached into my old canvas tote, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out my matte black American Express Centurion. The metal one, the one that weighs more than a regular card because it's made of anodized titanium. The one less than 1% of 1% of the world will ever touch. I slid it across the white table. Dinner's on the broke old lady tonight. Leave the waiter a very generous tip. Then fate delivered the most delicious twist of all. Franklin, desperate to reassert control, signaled for the check. He pulled out his platinum card. Declined. His black card. Declined. His infinite limit card. Declined. His face turned purple. He stormed out to call the bank, muttering about fraud alerts and travel flags. I simply laid my Centurion down. The waiter returned in under 90 seconds, his eyes wide with something close to worship. He said, "Everything is settled, Miss Starling. Thank you, and please come back any time." I stood up, still in my wrinkled thrift store dress, still clutching my old canvas tote, and looked Veronica dead in the eyes. You have money, but you have zero class. You have zero empathy. You have zero idea what real wealth actually looks like. You offered me alms to disappear from my own child's life. Let me make you a counteroffer. I will wire $1 million cash right now if you can prove right here, right now, that you have ever even once treated a poor person with genuine respect when no one was watching. You can't, can you? Because to you, people are only worth their balance in their bank account. That is the difference between us. I built an empire from nothing. You just spend someone else's. I earned respect. You try to buy it. I have dignity. You have jewelry. I turned to Simone.